Hello, my lovely friends. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late to this one. I was actually about to go out of town when they dropped Close to You. So I was like supposed to be packing and prepping and stuff, and I had to spend the entire day doing Pikmin stuff. So by the time this went out, it was just plainly too late. I just like could not do it. On that note, I should consider myself lucky though that it happened before I went out of town, not while I was out of town. Great. So anyway, yeah, the last thing to come out of the whole Close to You thing. It was a very fun, I complain about not having enough time, but it was a fun day. It was a weird day, but it was a really fun experience, I know people are like mad that Nintendo blocked all the videos because they want you to go to the app. I don't know. I'm not that broken up about it. It was kind of but like I sort of see where they're coming from. It doesn't really bother me that much. The entire thing was just a tremendous amount of fun, though. I really think the short was incredibly cute. It was fun to watch it so many times and trying to, I don't know. I really liked it. So anyway, though, yeah, the last piece of information to come out of it was Nintendo did basically reveal what this was, and it's funny because I did a whole entire video being like, I'm basically sure I know what this is, and I had my whole theory. I laid it all out there, and I was really sure. I know, being sure about a Nintendo thing, it's silly, but it felt obvious to me. But there's always that curveball. There's always that Nintendo curveball. And I still think that if this thing was representative of a bigger thing, a bigger project, then I think I still would have been right. I think it still made a lot of sense. I think Close to You. It was like that. That is what they were going for. Pikmin are close to you, and look, it brought them closer to you. Like, I'm sure. But what I didn't consider, the element that I simply did not consider. I assumed this meant something bigger. It was not just a thing in itself, even though I could recognize that it worked by itself. But maybe I thought it was such a good thing that worked by itself that it had to mean something bigger. Yeah, what I didn't consider was that it did not mean anything bigger, and that this was simply a thing that existed by itself. And that is what ended up happening. This does not point to a bigger thing necessarily. Sometime back, Nintendo, because they've been wanting to get into like shows and movies, visual production that is not video games necessarily. They've been wanting to do that for years. They started the initiative quite a while ago. They're doing the Nintendo thing, being really, really slow and careful about it. I feel like it was like years before the Mario movie, like when they first announced it so many years ago, like earlier in my channel. It's taken them that long to like get to this point. Slow and steady wins the race. But yeah, they've been wanting to do this for a long time. And a while back, they officially started Nintendo Pictures, which is their own like in-house studio for creating animated, or just overall visual content. I imagine most of it, if not all of it, will end up being animated, but whatever. It's Nintendo making visual stuff. And up until now, Nintendo Pictures has not really done anything. The Mario movie was done by Illumination, and the next one will be too. And for all we know, they will keep working with other big studios to do their movies because they've got all the experience and stuff. I would be really, really curious to know if Nintendo wants to expand Nintendo Pictures and eventually maybe start animating their own movies. They're still going to need distributors, so they may still work with Universal or whatnot. But anyway, whatever, getting ahead of myself. Point is, though, they revealed that this short, Close to You, was basically their first thing. It was kind of, I don't know, I don't even suppose you'd call it a proof of concept, because again, it is just a nice little short all by itself, but it was sort of, a dry run, however you want to put it. This was the first project produced by Nintendo Pictures. And because of that, it's not necessarily pointing to a bigger thing. This was not like the first episode of a series of shorts necessarily. This was not a teaser for a show. They just kind of wanted to do a thing. But it still is incredibly interesting, and I still feel like there's a lot to kind of unpack here. You know, for starters, I still think that it's really awesome that the first thing they wanted to do was Pikmin related. I love that, you know, just like, it's awesome being a fan of a relatively small series, you know, in this world, in this climate especially. Series that don't really hit it big often just get totally axed, totally forgotten by their publishers and IP owners and whatnot. So it's always amazing to love Pikmin. And sure, you know, it has struggled over the years, but Nintendo still loves it so much that they just keep on pulling it along. Like, nope, Pikmin is totally, like, I just could not be happier, you know, just so fortunate that it's Miyamoto's baby, and they still want it to be part of their identity, and they clearly want to expand it. You know, even if I don't necessarily like the lore implications of bringing Pikmin into the world of actual humans, I cannot deny that this really is a way to bring it to a bigger audience, to potentially be able to grow it into even bigger things, make it, because like the games are weird, you know, like Pikmin 4 was definitely the most accessible out of all of them, but just the very concept of Pikmin, it is very strange. And, you know, especially going the further back you go back to Pikmin 1, it still is just very weird, very quirky, and you know, in some ways that kind of Japanese style that you don't necessarily get here. Even like the name Pikmin, like it's weird. So they've been kind of like unweirding it in certain ways, and yeah, making it a little bit more palatable for broader audiences, and so that is a very good thing. So anyway, I think it's awesome that they decided that their first thing they were gonna do is a little short based on Pikmin. It could have been Mario, obviously. They could have done the most obvious thing in the world and just make a little short where Mario does some stuff. I don't know, maybe it's because we've already got the movie. Or it could have been Zelda. You know what I mean? It could have kind of been anything. But it was Pikmin. So I already think that that's really cool. And you know what? I want to give Nintendo a lot of credit here, because even if they were going to just do like a, you know, even if you want to call it a proof of concept or whatever, this little thing, they just wanted, oh, hey, let's start with a short, you know? We're not going to start with a show or a movie or whatever. We're just going to make a short. We're going to make a 4-minute long short and just kind of release it. And that's it. It just exists as its own thing. They obviously, they could have gotten away with just doing that, very plainly, just putting out a short, and it was cute, and that was it. But Nintendo, they're so good at putting their own spin on stuff. They're so incredibly good at taking something that everyone else does, a million trillion other people have done it before, companies, whatnot, and putting a new spin on it. It's incredible. It's amazing to me. There really are some very creative minds at Nintendo. They really do know how to think outside the box. And the idea of creating this short, but like creating 2 versions of it, giving us the version where the Pikmin are invisible, letting us be like confused about it for a day. You don't even, there's no actual like hard confirmation that it is Pikmin related. It's related to some Nintendo IP, but it's technically a mystery. Like we could tell, like we were sure, you know, Pikmin fans were literally 100% sure, but like it wasn't confirmed. And then dropping a second version where they are visible and even creating a whole new score for it with a different vibe. And so it's basically like these 2 versions of the same short are almost completely different. By simply making the Pikmin visible or invisible, you change the character, the subject even, of the short. The first short was about a baby. It was. The first short was about a baby and a thing happening to a baby. The second short is about Pikmin. And there's a baby involved. The baby drives the story, but it's about the Pikmin. I think from like a legitimate artistic perspective, That is really, really interesting. I really do want to give Nintendo a lot of credit there. That is a genuinely unique and playful and Nintendo-style way of going about doing something that has been done a trillion times before by a trillion other artists and directors and animators and publishers and studios and whatnot. I don't know. I just think that's great. I think that's really, really, really cool. I'm kind of amazed. It's so clever. It's so cute. Both versions of the same short function as stories in their own unique, separate ways. Completely. It's basically two different shorts. It's just so cool. I don't know. I can't get over it. I think it's so incredibly cool. And so, back to the idea of, this not really necessarily leading to a show or whatever. I do think it's a little bit disappointing. Sure. I think you really could do this. I had this whole idea. Again, all of these scenes popped into my head, like a guy making breakfast and someone keeps trying to take the milk, any kind of thing. Or what did I say? What was the other one? It was the old man, someone's bringing the toy around and the dog is chasing after the toy. It just it writes itself. You can see it. So I do think it would have been fun if that's what this was. It was going to be like a series of things like that. However, we got to remind ourselves that could happen. That still could happen just because they didn't say, hey, we are dedicating to producing 8 more shorts of this variety. Obviously, they're going to keep working on stuff. And I think there's every chance that they could, start producing shorts that go at the beginning of movies or whatever. Maybe we will get another, they could do more Pikmin shorts. I'm sure they'll end up doing other stuff too. I think a Kirby one or something would be fun. Next, don't even get me started. Obviously, we're just gonna start what about a Metroid one? Of course, I'm gonna go there. But for right now, we've got every reason to believe they're gonna keep doing stuff like this. I don't know. Maybe this was such a proof of concept that now that they've done this almost as an exercise, now they are gonna make the Pikmin show. We really don't know. It's kind of like how before Aardman did the Wallace and Gromit movie, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, they did a little series of really brief little shorts. And I can't remember if they were branded or not, if they were commercials, or if they were just kind of shorts on their own. But I remember reading about it, that was that was the test. That was they had a new team of animators, and they were all right, we want to make a movie, so let's start with something small. Sort of a proof of concept. That could be what's happening here. We may get something bigger. Again, we don't know what Nintendo's plans are. We don't know what kinds of productions they're going to do. But at the very, very least, I'm sure we'll get more shorts like this in the future. We could get any number of Pikmin shorts. They could be similar. At the beginning of the next Mario movie would be really great. At the same time, I don't know if there's a conflict there. If Illumination animates the movie, do they not want to have their own studio animate the short at the beginning? I don't actually know if that's a problem or not. I suppose it just kind of depends on whatever they work out with Universal. But I don't know. Really, the sky's the limit. This could go anywhere. And on that note, it was already amazing seeing a Pikmin statue on the big screen. But if I get to see actual Pikmin really animated on a big screen in a theater full of people, that's gonna be pretty surreal right there. But we'll see. Can't get my hopes up. So really, this is just the beginning. We don't know what they're gonna do next, which is fun. Obviously, just having no idea what's gonna happen next. I think that's great. Yeah. Is it more Pikmin? Is it something else? Are you gonna start doing proof of concepts for other stuff? Is it gonna be a show? We don't know. But that's a fun one, we have a lot of wait and sees in this here industry, but some of them aren't as fun. Those wait and see. This is a good one. This is a fun wait and see. I'm actually excited to wait and see here.